Path of Exile has always thrived on experimentation, in terms of build diversity and the Ascendancy power. With the patch 3.27 and introduction of the new Bloodline system, the game's landscape has shifted once again. Ascendancies that once dominated the meta may find themselves overshadowed by new defensive layers, aura synergies, and the chaos scaling, while experimental or the niche options rise in popularity. So this tier list takes a look at where each Ascendancy stands in the current stage of the game. From the D tier, which struggles to keep up, all the way to the S tier, which are the go-to choices for mapping, boss fights, and the endgame content. And remember, if you're looking for any of these builds on the website for their Path of building, then check my links in the description. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides Path of Exile services, like cheap currency, then even to trade all types of top quality items and mirrors and much more. They also have more than 20,000 positive comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try, so make sure to use my discount code KATE for extra 6% off. So let's start at the bottom. The D tier is reserved for Ascendancies that either haven't received meaningful updates this league or are outpaced by the scaling potential of the Bloodline Ascendancies. These choices can still clear content, but rarely will shine or dominate. Assassin drops into the D tier this league. Once a powerhouse of the crit heavy burst damage, Assassin now struggles in a meta dominated by defensive mechanics and ward reworks that favor sustain over the raw burst. Assassin excels at quickly eliminating single targets, but monsters in 3.27 will hit harder and have extended lifespans, which reduces the effectiveness of the pure kill speed playstyles. While softcore mapping remains manageable, the high-end bosses or the chaos-focused encounters will expose the assassin's one-dimensional nature. Additionally, the lack of recent buffs will leave Assassin behind the hybrid sustain-focused Ascendancies like the Trickster or the Bloodline Chaos setups, so its charm is intact, but in competitive terms it feels dated. Then Slayer also slides down. The archetype's identity as a safe melee was previously boosted by the Life Leech and the damage over time mitigation. However, with the Overleech mechanics unchanged, and the Bloodline's aura providing alternative sustain, the Slayer's defensive niche is less special. Early game clear speed is decent, but mid to late game encounters will fail to highlight this Ascendancy's unique features. Players seeking the raw melee damage will often choose the Juggernaut or the Berserker instead, as those options provide superior scaling and more aggressive synergy with the ward stacking and new sustain layers. Then Champion surprisingly sits low as well, despite his long-standing reputation as defensive powerhouse thanks to the Fortify. This champion now cannot compete with the modern defensive builds. The ward stacking and the Bloodline-based scaling provides higher effective HP pulls than Fortify alone. While Champion is viable for League Start Impale build or a tanky support, this Ascendancy just doesn't offer a compelling reason to pick it over more synergetic melee options for the long term. Then Oshabi is a new Bloodline Ascendancy that also lands in the D tier. Designed around the nature-themed chaos and power, Oshabi's potential is undetermined by inconsistent numbers or the poor scaling. Her bonuses will feel underdeveloped, and while mechanically interesting, this Ascendancy just fails to reach the levels of Lycia or the Olroth in either the damage or survivability. Players who are experimenting with the Oshabi may enjoy the thematical flavor, but the Ascendancy is generally outclassed in both mapping and bossing scenarios. So, in my summary, D tier is home to mechanics that either way are outdated or the lack synergy needed to remain competitive in the 3.27. These Ascendancies can still be fun, especially for the casual play or the niche builds, but they rarely excel in this new evolving meta. Next up, C tier represents solid and functional choices that require more investment, careful planning or niche strategies to truly shine. They are reliable for Atlas progression, but often overshadowed by the stronger, more synergetic options. The Gladiator falls into the C tier. Known for the block-based tanking and the bleed setups, the Gladiator has struggled to maintain the relevance in the ward meta. New Bloodline defensive layers will provide superior effective health and recovery, making Gladiator's block bonus feel underwhelming unless specialized into the bleed or max block meme setups. Offensive potential remains limited, leaving the Gladiator feel less flexible than the other melee Ascendancies. Then Saboteur also lands here. The Trap and Mine builds haven't received direct buffs, and the Ascendancy's defensive mechanics will feel outdated compared to the Bloodline nodes that offer action speed, protection or the stun immunity from the socketless gear. While Saboteur will clear Delirium content effectively and remain a fun experimental option, it unfortunately fails to compete at the upper echelons of the mapping or the endgame bosses. Then Elementalist experiences a minor dip. Her golem synergies and reworked exposure mechanics will still provide flexibility for the elemental and the hybrid builds, but Bloodline Ascendancies like the Lycia will now dominate chaos and the hybrid scaling. Elementalist can still shine with the carefully crafted combos, but she demands more investment to match the efficiency and the raw damage of the new Bloodline options. Then Catarina, a Bloodline summoner, also sits at this tier. She provides interesting minion-based bonuses and synergizes with the Necromancer-style hybrid builds, but her mechanics can be punishing. Her offering deals damage when they expire trait will add flavor, yet careless management can result in self-inflicted damage. This could be a fun ascendancy for new players, but very risky for the veterans. Then Delirious, the madness-themed Bloodline, rounds out the C tier. Mechanically unique with the delayed damage absorption and the void interactions, Delirious offers a flashy experience. However, its risk factor makes it less reliable. A single poorly timed hit can bypass delayed mitigation and result in a one-shot. This is an experimental niche and primarily for those who are seeking unconventional gameplay rather than the meta efficiency. So overall, the C tier Ascendancies will remain competitive, but require skill, investment or the niche planning. They are versatile for the specialized builds, but rarely dominate the 3.27 meta without creative engineering. Then we got the B tier Ascendancies, which are strong, reliable choices that perform well across the board. They may not define the meta, but they offer flexibility, survivability, and a solid scaling potential. Warden, the new Ranger Ascendancy replacing Raider, is an excellent example. With evasion boosts and action speed enhancements, Warden navigates maps effortlessly. She benefits from the new accuracy auras from the Bloodline synergy, making her adept at both clearing packs and engaging bosses. Her damage ceiling, however, is capped unless paired with a high tier unique or optimal bow setups, which keeps her from reaching the A tier. Then Guardian remains a robust support option, benefiting from the aura reworks that improve the party-wide scaling. Bloodline auras, however, will provide many of the same buffs for the solo builds, which diminishes the Guardian's relative impact outside of the group play. Still, his utility and defensive bonuses will remain strong, specifically in multiplayer environment. Then Hierophant will continue to excel with reliable totems and the mana sustain. However, the Self-Caster and the Summoner builds will now enjoy flashier options in the Bloodline Ascendancies, which overshadow the Hierophant's simplicity. He's stable, safe, and versatile, but lacks the meta-defining power of an A or S tier choices. Then Trickster has suffered a minor nerf. His hybrid defense and action speed protection remain strong, yet the Bloodline nodes will now offer similar defensive utilities, such as immunity to crits and the elements via the socketless armor. The Trickster retains value for mapping and flexible builds, but no longer commands the top spot in defensive play. Then Farrul, a Bloodline Beast Summoner, is a solid B tier pick. The Beast synergy, minion scaling, and the SRS bonuses will provide interesting options for attack-based summoners. While the Farrul aura may seem counterintuitive due to the minion accuracy changes, the Farrul offers reliable performance and experimental potential. And then finally, Nameless, another Bloodline, is in this tier, who is balanced with the chaos neutral bonuses. Though it doesn't get a defining meta archetype yet, it remains a steady and versatile choice for the hybrid builds. So overall, the B tier Ascendancies are dependable, safe, and adaptable. They allow players to clear content reliably, with room for creativity or the niche experiments, without risking underperformance. Then next we have the A tier. These Ascendancies are the heavy hitters, strong, reliable, and often synergetic with the latest systems introduced in the 3.27. These choices dominate most content with very minimal nerfs. The Juggernaut rises thanks to the improved synergy with the ward mechanics. Enhanced damage over time mitigation, massive armor, and endurance charges scaling will make him a nearly unkillable melee option. Small hits no longer threaten to destroy his ward stacks, allowing Juggernaut to survive extended fights and dangerous map modifiers with ease. Then Berserker benefits from the new sustain layers and the ward interactions. Previously as a glass cannon, Berserker now balances very high damage output. His rampage mechanics combined with the ward regeneration will create a stable yet aggressive playstyle, which makes him a top tier choice for the melee players. Then Pathfinder thrives due to the Flask synergy and the Bloodline bonuses. She excels in both mapping and bossing, benefiting from the faster action speed, increased regeneration, and a powerful Flask effects. Pathfinder's versatility will make her one of the best all-round ranger options in the 3.27. Then Inquisitor sees resurgence thanks to the aura stacking and the elemental buffs. The charge-based hatred and the anger boosts will make him excellent excellent for the hybrid casters or the elemental RF builds. While RF received minor nerfs, the Inquisitor can still offer exceptional consistency and damage potential. Then Occultist remains in the A tier. The curse reworks combined with the Lucius Profane Ground and the Malediction stacking creates a fresh chaos scaling path. Occultist is particularly potent for the summoners or the hybrid builds that rely on a mix of damage over time and minion support. And then finally Lycia is the meta for the chaos focused builds. Profane Ground, Maledicting stacking and the hybrid scaling will make her ideal for the Herald, RF and the minion hybrid builds. She is a flavorful, versatile and powerful without being overtuned, balancing accessibility with the DPS. And then to finish the A tier we have the All. His aura bonuses and interactions with the Chaos, Heralds and the self-casts will provide flexible options for both melee and the caster archetypes. While not overwhelmingly dominant, All scales well across multiple playstyles. And now finally we've come to the S tier, which represents the elites, aka the Ascendancies that define the league, break traditional expectations or received massive buffs in the 3.27. These choices dominate content across all stages of the game. First up, Necromancer remains supreme. The minion survivability improvements, combined with the Bloodline synergies like the Catarina and the Farrul, will elevate summoners back to the top. Necromancer can scale both with offense and defense, while reworked offerings provide high risk and a high reward playstyle, capable of deleting endgame bosses in a split second. Then Chieftain sees unexpected buffs. The fire builds will benefit from the aura enhancements, while the Bloodline synergies allow extreme sustain and the high consistent damage. The RF Chieftain builds will become comfortable and reliable, excelling in both the softcore and hardcore content. Then next up, Deadeye rises thanks to the projectile buffs and the ward interactions. Her smooth attack Candace and increased mapping efficiency will make her super powerful in a fast-paced encounter. The Bloodline auras will further augment her accuracy and attack speed, making her a top-tier damage dealer in the POE 3.27. Then next up we have the Champion of Chaos, which is a Bloodline Ascendancy that emphasizes chaos damage and the hybrid scaling. Poison, Chaos SRS and the Chaos Chops will benefit from the raw offensive bonuses. It's simple, effective and very strong. She's the best pick for players experimenting with the chaos builds. Then next up, Olroth is another really good Bloodline Ascendancy. Ward manipulation, bypass mechanics, and offensive scaling with the armor pieces will allow for defensive and offensive dominance simultaneously. Olroth fundamentally alters survivability and the strategies that has already become a fan favorite for the hardcore players seeking both tankiness and the damage. His ability to manipulate ward mechanics will fundamentally change survivability, which has now created entirely new meta. And then finally we have Ascendant, which is unique to the Scion, that remains S tier due to the unparallelable flexibility. In 3.27, when cross Ascendancy synergy is very important, Ascendant allows very unique builds, so picking elements from the Lycia for the chaos scaling, then Pathfinder for the flask power, or even the Trickster for the defense all in one build. This is the ultimate choice for players experimenting with creative and very unique builds.